Hello, hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity with your podcast host, Keegan. And this is your podcast for all mental health, addiction, recovery issues, and topics. And today we have a very special guest, and his name is Ricardo Zulueta.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. How's it going?
Oh, man, it's going good. How are you, dude?
Good, good. Not too bad. It's Thursday. Friday's coming up.
Yes, sir. Four down, one to go.
So
Uh,
we're
s-
good.
yes, sir. So we talked a little bit before the episode, and
Yeah.
you're the starter of a nonprofit, but
hmm
you started it because of your story.
hmm
So you want to go ahead and tell us who you are, what you're about?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I'm actually a serial entrepreneur, but one of the things I ended up doing was starting a nonprofit. So, a little bit about that. When I lost my brother to suicide, I learned that depression and anxiety is just like happiness. They're not actually the cause, they're just the natural and temporary emotional responses based on our perspectives, not really our situations. I tell people all the time that's why rock stars commit suicide while the homeless are the ones struggling to stay alive. That doesn't make sense. Everyone knows to live life to the fullest. Who doesn't? But we still complain about Mondays, traffic, weather, stuff like that. It's just human nature because of supply and demand. The law of supply and demand really
Mm,
kind of takes place. Sometimes we get inspired to be more hopeful when we hear like a great story. We even appreciate life more when someone passes away, right? But
mm-hmm,
these are just reminders. This inspiration is temporary, and
mm-hmm,
all the motivational quotes that you're exposed to, they're all meaningless unless you actually make a decision about something. So I've talked to thousands of people already. I've learned that a negative perspective is actually what evolves into anxiety, depression, drug abuse, and eventually suicidal tendencies. Obviously, that's the end if you succeed, right? But
mm-hmm,
everyone's being taught to keep waiting for symptoms of depression or anxiety, and we're being told that people are depressed because they have depression, even though it doesn't
mm-hmm.
make any sense whatsoever to say people are happy because they have happiness. So, it doesn't make sense.
No.
Anyway, it's impossible to prevent any problems, doesn't matter what it is, without being proactive. You can't
Mm-hmm,
prevent cavities if you don't proactively brush your teeth, and you can't prevent diabetes if you don't proactively eat a healthy diet. So you really can't solve any of your problems before you make a decision. We need to be more accountable,
mm-hmm.
and making decisions is the only way to find the solutions that allow you to quit the job you hate, let go of past trauma, go on vacation, or even start your own podcast like our boy Keegan here. So start day one is a nonprofit for mental health and suicide prevention, where we have a more proactive approach to helping people instead of reactively waiting for symptoms of mental health issues or suicidal tendencies, which is what most professionals and organizations focus on. Um, our mission is just to inspire people to change their perspectives from waiting for one day to starting day one, which means there's a day two, day three. We don't get overwhelmed with our problems because we have so much to do or change. We really just don't know where to start. And like I said before, everyone's exposed to inspirational content every day, but they're just meaningless until you make a decision. So we
Mm-hmm.
really need to change people's perspectives because that is what influences our decisions. So, to anyone that's listening, when you find yourself complaining or making excuses in your own pursuit of happiness, or I prefer fulfillment,
Mm-hmm.
it's not because it's impossible. It's because you just haven't decided to do it yet. And
Mm.
so that's basically what we're trying to get everyone exposed to.
Man, that is such an awesome mission to be proactive in mental health.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, everything is reactive right
Yeah.
now, and we can see the statistics, and it's a sad one. So
Right.
many people take their lives every single day, and there's literally a hotline for it. It's right behind me, 988. People call it and people don't.
No.
But it'd be great if
Yeah.
people didn't have to call it in the first place.
Right. And that's the thing, right? So things like the phone numbers and stuff,
Hmm.
that's when you're already there.
Hmm.
Like, you're like, so what we need to teach people, because they talk about suicide prevention, then let's
Hmm.
prevent it. All right,
Hmm.
what are the things we have to do to prevent it? It all starts with just complaining about the smallest thing. It
Hmm.
evolves. And at the end of that, like I said, is the suicidal tendencies. But why don't we stop it here before we even get there? Let's stop complaining. Let's get people to stop complaining about things. But like I said, you also have to just understand we're all accountable for this, right?
Yeah.
It's human nature. Everyone that has depression, please understand that you're just because you feel depression doesn't mean it's never going to happen again when you're happy. No one is permanently happy. Not one person in the world, not one, because that is not a life. And I'm telling you right now. So you have to understand that depression is the result. It's a big, it's sometimes it's hard for people to understand, but depression is the result of things. So we're not depressed because you have depression. It's because your perspective on something really sucks. It gets you depressed, and that's why now you have depression. So we have to go backwards and go, okay, what is causing the depression? You have to understand a cause is never a noun. You can't say, well, my dad. A lot of people have dads, so that ain't it.
Yeah.
What is it about your dad? Well, he's mean. There's a lot of mean people too. Like, you have to understand is that what's the verb happening? What are you doing that's causing it? Because you're basically beating yourself up. No one's doing it for you. Anyone that's in depression, no one's causing you to be depressed except you. And the more we try to tell people like, oh, Keegan, dude, it's not your fault. It's a mental illness. We just now took away that accountability that you can do something about it. And when we do that, we also take away your hope because you went, oh man, it's not me. It's, oh, okay. So it's a natural thing. And it was a flaw that we made, right? It was supposed to, I always say we're in this coddle culture. And what it was, what they tried to do with it was, these people with mental health issues, we don't want to make them feel bad. So let's just say it's a mental illness. Like they can't do anything about it so that people will accept them. And it's like, yeah, you can't do that because you need to let them feel accountable for it so they can so that they know that they can change that. You know, because when they say like there's mental illness, there's nothing you can do about it. Okay, can I have my friend babysit your kids then? Why? What's the problem? Because I thought you're good with mental illness. What's wrong? Like, but now you're saying they can't do anything about it. Well, how do you think they feel? You just made them feel worse, not better. Again, when I say coddle culture, we have to really think in a long term. What is the best for people? It's like, you know, when a kid keeps complaining, I want candy and candy and candy, and just to coddle, you know, you give it to them or you hug them too much. Or again, are you training them to be the best version of themselves later on? Or is that going to make them worse? Because now, you know, they're depending on you to, you know, for things to be happy. It's like, oh, as long as they're happy. It's like, yeah, but they're not building this sort of confidence or self-esteem, you know? So things like that. But we really need to change our minds about the way we talk to people. Like, and when I say proactive, it's, you have to do things before you start seeing these things. Like what I'm telling you, it's like, dude, hug your kid. Like, don't go like, oh, look, make sure you look for Keegan, make sure you look for signs. You know, when your kid's not coming out of their room, that's a sign. Like, what do you mean? Go in that room every day and hug them. Like, what do you mean? You're going to wait until they're like that and then you hug and say love? Like, I might have to disagree with you on that. So, yeah, so that's just kind of one of the things.
Okay. There's a lot in there and it's all really good stuff. And I do love the responsibility part because I do have BPD, or bipolar rather, because it's one or the other. But the thing is, whenever I was diagnosed with it, like you said, it kind of goes like, well, hey, I have something to go with, but at the same time, it's like now I have a label attached to me that I didn't want.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, oh, well, what do we do about it? Okay, there's medication. Okay, well, how long do I take it for the rest of your life? Like, nah, I don't really want to do that, you know?
Right.
So.
And it sucks. You know what's really bad about that is everyone, again, when I talk about this stuff, I'm included in this. I'm not saying like, oh, these people that are depressed. Like, no, everyone's human. So, you know, but things like that, it really, people need to understand that when you start talking that way, when you start identifying yourself or creating an identity by saying something like that or calling yourself something, um, people have this idea that you're the end result. Like, this is it. This is fine. Like, this is the final version of myself. And now I'm stuck with this version. That's not how it is. It's never a final product. We always have to strive to be the person of who we want to be. What you are today, it's not the final result, but that's what you're thinking, because that's what you're being taught. It's not your fault, actually. It's because everywhere you're being taught these little messages, like, you know, even like these quotes sometimes are inconsistent, you know, like, live in the present. Like, a lot of people got in trouble doing that, actually, because they just lived in the present every freaking day. So they went out, partied, all that stuff. Just living every day, though. It's like, yeah, was that the right thing, though? Did you have a good time? Great. So where are you today? Oh, not feeling so good. Why is that? So, and what's funny is when you think about depression, anxiety, really think about it. The cause is not actually what's happening in the present. It's what they're thinking about the future. Actually, sometimes it's because they can't see a different future or a future. And that's what actually gets you depressed, because you're telling me you can't be happy at all. But these are just your responses to things, right? So, and that's what's really happening. So what you really need to do is, what I tell people is, you have to have the future to guide you, because you have to know where you're going. You have to have the past to learn from. I hope you learn from your past, man. And then the present is when you execute. It's a harmonious thing. It's not live in the present or focus on the future or only about the past. You're the product of your past. Like, now it's all of everything, because it's never, it's just like, I always kind of put in startups randomly, only because it's like a startup. You always have to pivot. You have to see yourself like that, right? It's not just one version. If you don't know how to pivot, you're going to fail, right? Something may not be working. Maybe being a rock star didn't quite work out for you. Well, doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Like, you have to learn how to pivot. Again, you know, we'll discuss it later, but that sense of purpose is what really guides you to that. So,
and oh man, that sense of purpose. I know that you and I had spoken about it before, and it's really good. So if you want to hold on to that, that's all right. But yeah, like, whenever I know, I've talked to other people that have other mental illnesses, they a lot of them end up feeling hopeless, and like you said, the end product of, well, I went through all this trauma and now I'm stuck here with this, and they're kind of like, well, what do I do with it? And there's a whole bunch of different things we can do with it, but your mission is essentially to get to the point to where that's not such an overload that it goes to suicidal tendencies. It doesn't get to that depression level to where it's like you're not getting out of couch off the couch for like 3 months straight, you know. And you're trying to sit there and you're trying to get people to change their perspective on things. Just because you maybe have a mental illness label doesn't mean that that's who you are. That doesn't mean that's what you'll be forever. There's something you can do about it, and give people that little bit of hope, that little bit of responsibility. Say, here's the tools, this is what you can do. So it's kind of in your hands.
Because there's a difference. Like, when you take away hope, that's why people say they're suffering from depression. Suffering is like, because there's nothing you can do about it. It's like being in jail. There's nothing you can do about it. Struggling is a different story. A marathon runner is struggling for the end zone, right? Like, to cross that line, struggling, but they know that they're striving for something that potentially they'll finish or do something. It's really all about that progress, making it to every milestone and stuff like that. What I don't like about when it comes to identities is it gives us the best excuse. When any of us, including myself, when we're in a bad place, we tend to love excuses and we hate accountability. So the more you give excuses you can give to me, like, yo, I'll take it. Oh, dude, totally my dad. That's why I'm like this. dude. Oh yeah, it's because what happened in it. Yep, that's why. Oh, I might as well accept it because this is who I am now because of what happened. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but are there stories where that was not the case? Stop
Mm-hmm.
looking at people like they're trying to prove themselves to be depressed. It's like you don't want to do that. Look at
Mm-mm.
everyone that got out of it and go, well, what did they do? Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure most of the people that are depressed and all that stuff, like, well, let me see your daily routine. I'm curious. What did you do for the last 30 days straight in a row? Like, what did you keep doing? Or what did you keep thinking about? Right? Because when you're looking at it that way, like a lot of people always set these goals. It's like what we really should be focusing on are objectives. What are you in control of? Right?
Mm-hmm.
You can have a goal of like, oh, I'm going to be sober in whatever days, right? That's like,
Uh-huh.
great. Now you're at that 30 days. Now you want to drink after that. Like, great. Like, but what you want to do is you just want to see what you can do. But in
Mm-hmm.
any case, what you want to do is like I reverse engineer things, right? Like I'm
Okay.
like always tell people like it's all about the decision.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what influences our decisions? It's our perspectives. Okay,
Mm.
great. So, and what do I mean by that? The
Mm-hmm.
reason I say perspective is because perspective, it's the same exact situation. You just think about it differently. That's the only thing that happens. Look at every guru you've ever listened to. They didn't eat a freaking book, and then all of a sudden they changed. Okay, they just changed their perspective. There's always that story, and then you know what? I finally said to myself, "Never again," or da 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 da. Like now they're this motivational guru, and it's like,
Uh-huh.
what did they, what did they do differently? Did they win the lottery and then they did? Well, what happened? What happened? And the only thing that happens is the perspective shifts
Mm-hmm.
somehow. And a lot of times it's because of some sort of exposure. So now we're
Mm-hmm.
going into inspiration. Inspiration, what actually shifts your perspectives. It's the enemy of trauma. Trauma
Ooh.
is what shifts your perspective negatively.
Mm-hmm.
Inspiration is what does it positively.
Huh.
Now, when it comes to perspective, you have to know like perspective is like almost like a left right? Like how do I want to see this situation? You know,
Yeah.
it's the same exact situation, but how do I want to see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we don't know how do we see things, right? That's why you need that purpose, right?
Mm.
Because how do you know if it's wrong or right? Well, is it a threat or a benefit to your purpose? Obviously, well, you might want to purpose. You know, so,
Yeah.
so how you gonna know, right? So
Mm-hmm.
again, we go to that purpose. I guess we brought it in, Keegan. We're gonna talk about purpose.
All right. Sounds good.
Right.
Bring it on.
So when I tell people this, like the best way to kind of explain this stuff is, you know, people always say they feel lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
First question, Keegan, if you feel lost, hey, where are you going?
I don't know.
Right. If it's I don't know, oh, then left, right, straight, backwards. Oh, you're always gonna be lost. Let me know when you know where you're going. Maybe I'll give you directions.
Yeah.
And I've asked people like, what do you do when you get lost then? And they're just like, I don't know, I look at my GPS, ha ha ha, you know. And I'm just like, well, there better be a destination on that thing,
Mm-hmm.
or else you're just looking at a map, right? So you have to have all these things. And so basically, if you don't have a GPS, you don't have these things, what do? You roll down that window and ask for help, right? You ask for directions. Basically, obviously, there's a metaphor of people, you know, ask for help to where you're trying to go. You don't know where to go. You don't know how to get there. Again, you have to figure out where you're trying to go. No one can really tell you that part, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can you can ask for advice, but you really need to set the destination. Once you know the destination, some of you guys are going to be mad because it's like, oh my God, I missed it 5 years ago. That sucks. I have to now backtrack 5 years to get where I'm going. At least you know where you're going.
Yeah.
Right? You may be lost 2 hours, 5 hours, right? When you're driving, but at least now you know how to get there.
Yeah.
So, and that's how you have to see these things, right? The perspectives are all the roads. You know, all roads are connected. That's something I've learned from my brother. So think of life that way too. Wherever your destination is, there's some kind of road or path that'll get you there. I just don't know what that is. And no one really does. Sometimes you just have to go through. We don't have a GPS for life, right?
Yeah.
But the most important thing about the destination is like, well, why do you want to go there, Keegan? And that's what
Mhm.
that purpose is, because that
Uh,
purpose is now let's talk about purpose. So
okay.
purpose is it's actually really good. Um, it really doesn't care about pain or pleasure. That's what it
Mm.
is. And people have to understand you never find your purpose. Like, but that's what people are being told. Like I said, it's not really your
Mhm.
fault. You have
Yeah.
to create it. It must be on purpose, right?
Ah.
So, one of the ways to help people is you can answer the questions: how would you like to help certain people? And why should
Mhm.
you help these certain people? So, there's two major characteristics of purpose. It has to benefit and provide value to other people, not yourself.
Hmm.
Second one, it has to be a verb to
Uh,
inspire, to motivate, to help, to empower. It's always to something.
hmm.
Um, it's not be a rock star. That's a noun. I want to be rich. That's a noun. Um, a great example of the difference here, because some people still don't really understand.
Mhm.
Let's talk about rock stars, because we all know, like, damn, rock star, and you still commit suicide. I don't get it. So let's talk
Mhm.
about them, because sometimes what they think the purpose is really just a goal. There's the
Mhm.
difference. A purpose is infinite. It keeps on going, doesn't care about pain or pleasure. A
Mhm.
goal, you're going to be mad if you don't reach it. You're going to feel like really bad, all that stuff. But it's finite, it's measurable, all
Mhm.
that stuff. Um, so when it comes to like music, right?
Mhm.
If your purpose, but really goal, was to be a rock star, and then you reach it, what's next? All right, you're a rock star now. Now,
Hmm.
now what, Keegan? And now you're
Uh.
lost again. You go, want to be a trillionaire now? Like now you have to set
Mhm.
another goal, but that's not
Uh-huh.
a purpose. You see what's happening
Mhm.
there? It's very
Yeah.
finite.
Mhm.
But if a musician decided to say, you know what my purpose is? My purpose is to empower people with my music to learn from all the struggles that I went through and hopefully helps them out.
Mhm.
When does that end? And how many people do you need for that? One in the audience
Mhm.
satisfies your purpose, right?
Yep. Mhm.
Two, three, 1,000. It doesn't really matter. The financial stuff is just like the byproduct of your purpose. It's like,
Mhm.
well, how do you enhance that purpose? How do you help more people? Well, that
Mhm.
money could sure help, right?
Mhm.
And when you focus on that, automatically you don't look at yourself. Man, I only got 5 likes. Like, you don't care. It's like, did I help someone? Oh, no
Mhm.
way, dude. I helped someone. He was suicidal. Oh,
Mhm.
now as a musician, that's huge. Whether it's five
Mhm.
people or freaking 1,000, you can have 10,000 people. You didn't help anyone. That sucks, you know.
Mhm.
But it just makes you feel better. And I know we've talked about this. You know, Keegan's got
Mhm.
a purpose with why he's doing this as a host. It's
Mhm.
not like, oh, I really want to do a podcast, and because I want to work at home, and like, like that's not what's happening. He's
No.
doing this because he really wants to help people. Hopefully, people like myself, guest speakers, and insights, philosophies that might help someone else, and that's why he's doing this. He doesn't care if there's 2 of you listening or 1,000 of you listening, because he's still has that same purpose. And so that's what really, hopefully, people have a better understanding of what purpose is. It's just like a mission statement for startups.
Mhm.
So it's very different. It just gives you that like future mindset. You're looking at the future, and it actually
Mhm.
gives you perseverance too,
Yeah.
because like I said, it doesn't care about pleasure or pain. It doesn't
Mhm.
care about identity either. It doesn't care who you are. Doesn't
Mhm.
matter if Keegan is this freaking doctor with a doctorate, this, that, in psychology. He just wants to help freaking people. Is he helping someone more than the other person? Sometimes that's the case, right? When you see all these like people that host that's become enormous and they had no PhD in psychology, psychiatry, whatever. So anyway, that's a little bit about purpose.
Well, that little bit goes a really long way. And yeah, you're right. I do want to do this for helping people. That's literally what it started as, and that's what it continues to be. And so that's why I got to thank you for just coming on to help spread the message, because your purpose, your goal, and all that is to help stop getting people to that suicidal point,
Right.
to change the perspective on mental health as a society. It sounds like too, not just as an individual. And like you said, just that purpose is what it literally feels like someone's pushing you on the back a little bit, but like like there you go, you know.
It's funny. It's like, people talk about what is that thing called? Oh man, I forgot now. It just slipped my mind. The whole manifestation type of mindset.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
It's not that. There's this. Oh man, what was that called? The book, or I forget what it's called.
Law of attraction.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. So the law of attraction, right? You're thinking it's attracting. You're attracting it to you, but I see it reverse, and it always starts with a decision. You only see solutions to your problems, like I was mentioning before. Like, let's take Keegan, for example. I'm sorry, I keep using you as an example. But Keegan didn't research the entire podcast industry, researched every mic, researched every streaming services and this and that. And then he said, you know what? Now I'm ready. Because I now have the microphone. I now have the speakerphone. He didn't do that. He said, all right, record. Hey, what's up, guys? Right? That's what happened. And then you go, yeah, that sounded like crap. I might need a mic next time. I think I'm gonna get a mic. Oh man, I can't hear the people. I need a.
Yeah.
That's how you find the solutions. The same way people that are in a bad relationship. It's not because you can't leave. It's because you haven't decided to leave. When I say you decided to leave, I'm not saying leave tomorrow. No, what I'm saying is as soon as you decide to leave, we've all been in some sort of situation like that, whether it's a job, a relationship, where you just decided, you know what, I'm done. All of a sudden, the stress of the job was like, whoo, because I'm out. I don't really care what you say because I'm already looking. But it's even better when you already have one. But what happens is once you decide, what happens? You start looking for those solutions. In fact, the solutions are coming to you. So the decisions is actually what happens is it's not because you're attracting these things. It's more like you've opened yourself to the opportunities. Yeah. That's what I believe is happening. Because if you're not looking for a job or if you're not leaving that relationship, all these potential relationships that you could have had, you're going, no, because I'm not leaving. Whoop, 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 pass. Oh, nothing's happening, or a job. Oh, but no, I'm already working. I know it sucks. My boss sucks. Like, they're gonna suck 2 years from now again, right? Like you know this, right? Because you've been complaining for the past 5. So same thing with the relationships. But once you decide, that's where the solutions come. That's when you go like, well, if I save enough money and I reach out to my aunt, I guess I could stay with her. But until you decide, none of those will come to you, or at least your mind won't be open to that. So it's that's why it's very important, because like we were talking about before with the identity, it's like we love excuses. And so when you give us excuses and when we're in a bad place, I accept. I'll take that excuse. Oh, awesome, it's not my fault. Like that's how it works. That's how it works.
Yeah.
And that's really how this whole accountability thing takes place. I have this story. So, I had this apparel company, and I was talking to people about this, right? I was telling people that it always starts with a decision, always. And, I talked to this couple, and then they finally left, and this kid comes up to me like, yo, dude, I really like what you're saying about, it all starts with a decision, but it's not that easy, man. I go, well, I never said it was easy, but that's where it starts. Yeah, but I'm in rehab now and blah, 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 blah. And I go, yeah, doesn't matter. You just have to start. Yeah, but I was just like, all right, I'm over it. Dude, I go, dude, stop saying but, first of all. Now tell me again, why can't you make the decision to start? Go. And I backed away. This kid looks at me. He's just like, yeah, I'm like, no way. He didn't say but he's looking at the ceiling going, yeah. And I'm going, are you, what is this guy doing? I didn't tell him to run a marathon or even read a book. I'm like, dude, I'm just saying make a decision. And he's just looking. You know what he's doing? Looking through his database of excuses. See which one can I use? Man, no. Nope, that's not gonna fly. Because that doesn't prevent me from a decision. Nope, not my dad. Can't use my dad. Damn it. So all of a sudden he goes, "You're right. You're right." I go, "Yeah, I know. You're welcome." Like, so it was odd to me to something such a common sense thing to do. But again, I'm not in the same realm as he is mentally. But to him, he's being fed all these things. No, your fault, this, that. But what really made me realize it was about accountability and that this guy just won't accept it. I said that same exact story at another event. And this lady comes up to me.
Oh, no.
And I tell her the story. She was so just, no. It's different for everyone. And I'm just like, no. I was like, no, it always starts with a decision. So that's where it starts. No. And I'm not saying that's the cure, folks. But I'm saying you always have to decide. You have to start day one. So this lady leaves. I'm talking mad. And I'm going, why would someone be so mad about something I just said? All I said was like, dude, you just need to start with a decision. That's it. And I'm very analytical. So I'm going, what would make someone so got it? And I was like, I got it. As soon as that lady agreed with what I said, was as soon as she had to let go of her excuses. And she could not have that. Because now what? That means I could, nope, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. Because why would you be so angry? Because I made her feel like that she could do something about it. Like, and so that's when I realized, like, oh, when we're in a bad place, we hate accountability, and I go through that too.
Yeah,
like
same.
I think I told you this: when someone tries to motivate you too early, they're annoying.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I learned that the hard way. I went up to my wife complaining about life. Everything sucked. Like everything sucked. And then she goes, you'll be all right. You're awesome. And I was like, babe, I was starting to feel good when I was like telling you all the crap. But as soon as you said I'm gonna be okay and everything's good, it came right back. And it was really annoying. So next time when you talk to me, I think it's better if you just give me a hug. Yeah. And I learned that. And I'm like, so when we motivate people too early, it's because we haven't shifted their perspective yet. We only motivate after the decision's been made, not before. Because if they haven't shifted their perspective, that the decision doesn't come. And so that motivation can't come yet. So that's a big difference, people, with inspiration and motivation. Inspiration comes before perspective. Motivation comes after the decision. So that's a major difference. And motivation is very like, inspiration is just an exposure to it. Motivation is more like forced. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like watching a workout video or someone getting in shape, that's inspiration. Me telling you like do 5 push-ups, that's motivation. So there's a very different thing. So inspiration is really things that we get exposed to. Like you're watching a movie, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, that's my dream. That's it. All of a sudden you want to do it, you know? So things like that. So
yeah, I absolutely love how you just brought back that into that circle to inspiration, because that's exactly where I was about to go.
Nice.
Because I was about to ask, so it's almost like you're saying that inspiration can happen right before the decision. It can be the spark, literally right before the decision's made. And I love how you said that it was the opposite of trauma, because now that I'm thinking about it, it really does make sense. Because if I'm afraid of social gatherings or something because of I had a traumatic incident,
Mhm.
and I get inspired to go to a social gathering, then my default has been switched back to the happy-go-lucky side. Like maybe I got a little bit of fear, but I got that inspiration to make the decision to go and hang out with people, which
Mhm.
I normally wouldn't do, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
so inspiration, it sounds like that's what everyone's striving for, but it's not the thing that's going to last forever because, like you
Mhm.
said before, it's fleeting.
Mhm.
So start day one, and your purpose is to help people realize their purpose so that they can push themselves to keep going, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not really realize the purpose. Again, like I said, you have to create
Mm-hmm.
your purpose. I
Great,
don't know
great.
what
Uh-huh.
you want to create. I have no idea. And again, it's not one purpose.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to what's your purpose as a dad? What's your purpose as an employee? What's your purpose as a
Mm-hmm.
podcast host? What's your purpose? I don't know what those are. I have no
Mm-hmm.
idea. But obviously there's going to be some in the hierarchy of your purposes. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's going to take priority. Family obviously hopefully will always be top,
Uh-huh.
but that's really what happens. So I don't all I'm trying to do is really shift people's perspective with inspiration. So I
Mm.
inspire
Okay.
people with the things that I've learned. One of the
Mm-hmm.
biggest things, like I mentioned, is the whole being proactive and
Mm-hmm.
realizing that it's just a result. Once people can understand just that, if you take away anything out of everything that I'm saying, is that if if you just realize that it's everything that you're feeling is just a, a natural. First of all, it's not
Mm-hmm.
like abnormal, it's natural and it's temporary and it's a
Mm-hmm.
response. The key word is response to what?
Mm-hmm.
So the cause. So what is that? I don't know. When you
Mm-hmm.
talked about trauma as a noun, that's not what's causing you to be whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you're interpreting the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you're thinking of. What's the verb happening? Again, like I said, maybe that's why cause, its purpose is almost the same. They have to be verbs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what's the verb that's happening in your mind? It's not your dad. It's what about your dad are you thinking? What are you doing to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking all the time? Here's an example. When I was talking about this dude comes up to me. He's like, dude, I I have anxiety. I take pills for it. So what are you saying? And I'm like, bro, all right, just tell me why you're anxious. Like, tell me when you get anxious.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, when I get in a car. All right, dude, there's a lot of people here that gets in a car.
Mm-hmm.
What is making you anxious? Like, well, when I get in a car, I feel like I'm going to go out there and, hurt someone or hurt myself. And I go, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Dude,
Mm-hmm.
anyone with that perspective is going to get anxious. Dude.
Yeah,
It
that's
doesn't
not
matter
good.
who it is.
No, that's not
Anyone with
good.
that perspective is going to get anxious. So because of that, because of the way what you're feeding your mind, it's because you keep thinking that you're going to hurt someone. That is
Mm-hmm.
what's causing you to be anxious, and that's why you now have anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
If you get rid of that cause, then you won't be anxious.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, it's a temporary response. You don't. It's not because anxiety made me anxious. So let me
Mm-hmm.
get this right. My anger makes me angry. So I'm happy because of my happiness. Like, it doesn't make any sense. These are just
Mm-hmm.
results, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So it's your temporary response. Again, it's natural. When people say, like, oh, I'm depressed. Why? Well, because my dad just died. And then they're like, yeah, so be depressed. Like, what do
Mm-hmm.
you mean? Like, where's the problem? I'm not really getting what you're saying. But
Mm-hmm.
society is telling us that that's abnormal,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, oh, you're depressed. Oh no, you're thinking about that relationship again. Well, yeah, it was a 7-year relationship. What?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
what's funny is sometimes when people tell me they have depression, I go, oh, good. You
Yeah.
know why? Are you familiar with DABDA? Something you learned in high school. It's like
Oh, it
the
sounds so familiar.
the stages of grief.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
denial, anger.
Yes. Bargaining,
Yes, bargaining,
depression,
depression,
acceptance.
acceptance. Yep.
Right. There's only one positive word there, right?
Mhm.
Acceptance.
Yeah.
You have to go through denial. No way, that's not what's happening. Anger, like this is some bull. That what? What do you mean? And then there's bargaining, like, oh, if I just do this, please make it happen. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's depression. Depression is the very last stage. It's always
Mm-hmm.
hardest at that stage. It's just like the
Mm-hmm.
marathon. It's just like games. It's like anything that you want to strive for, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it is. But you're almost there,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so acceptance is what you want to reach, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are
Yeah.
you doing to accept that? A lot of times, time is what we need, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, more than time is, what future version of yourself do you see? Because if it's not a happy one, or you don't see one, well,
Mm-hmm.
where are you trying to become then? Who are you trying to become? I don't understand. Like, like, oh, I'm an alcoholic. All right, do you see yourself as an alcoholic in the future? Because then that's all you're gonna follow that. I don't understand. I don't know what. I'm confused. You gotta talk to me. Like I want to be a rock star. Okay, so what are you doing about that though?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand. And again, like, well, if you had a purpose, you'd probably be closer to that than anything.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you have to be a rock star. You could be
No.
working a normal job and this and that, and still doing your music if you had your purpose.
Uh-huh.
You just happen to have more resources to be able to talk, or sing to more people, really.
Yeah.
So
Um. Man.
yeah, a lot of stuff, huh?
Yeah, it is a lot of stuff. It really is. I'm just sitting here. I'm coming through my beard, coming through my thoughts, going like, man, there's a lot there. Where do I want to start? Because, I mean, you're hitting all these key points, and each one of them is its own little rabbit hole. And then each one of those
Right.
goes to its own little rabbit hole, and it's great because I'm like, which one do I want to chase? Because they all are great conversations.
Right, right.
uh,
And it's crazy. Everything I talk about are really just common sense. And
uh-huh.
that's why when people tell me, like, I mean, I've spoken to, like, professionals, like, what's your background? I'm like, I don't need to be a dentist to tell you to brush your teeth. I'm
Mhm.
telling you that right now. Like, I'm not going to get a dentist just to tell my kids, hey, listen to your what did your dentist tell you about your teeth? Like, no, I'm going to
Mhm.
do it. I'm also going to tell them not to eat all the candy on Halloween,
Mhm.
because they might get cavities, or they might get diabetes. Uh,
Mhm.
Not a doctor, guys, not a nutritionist either, but I pretty much know it's common sense stuff. And that's
Mhm.
all I'm really talking about, because when it comes to prevention, any one of us can do it. We all know these things.
Mhm.
I can tell you I can Google a million quotes, and all you're going to go, that's true.
Yeah.
Hey, live life to the fullest and don't worry about the small things, Keegan. Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds
Hey,
good.
do this. Hey, do that. Live life to the fullest. Yeah. There's nothing you're going to go, no way. Life is short. Shut. No. This whole time, I'm thinking,
It's
Keegan,
forever.
thank you. Thank you. Wow. Oh my God. Like, mind blown, dude. And so these are the things that I talk about. These are things we already know. But
Mhm.
again, we're fighting this huge societal, like, norm now that is making things so much worse for everyone. Every
Mhm.
doctor that you go to, most of the time, just like the physical doctors, I like relating the physical with the mental, because it's
Mhm.
easier to understand.
Yeah.
So when you go to your doctors, you don't go there to ask them about what food you're doing or whatever. It's when you have something messed up already. You're like, Doc, I don't know what's going on. Like,
Yeah.
but it's turning blue. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. But you go to the doctors when you have something
Mhm.
wrong already, right?
Yeah.
But everyone knows diet, right, is
Mhm.
always a culprit. Like, for example, diabetes. When the
Mhm.
blood sugar shows you, it's not it's not the diabetes causing your sugar, because that's what they're telling you. Oh, the diabetes is making your sugar go up. Like, the result is the cause, really. And that's what doctors are doing in the mental. The
Mhm.
physical, they don't do that, but in the mental space, that's something they do. They say, you have
Mhm.
depression, here's some pills, Keegan.
Mhm.
They don't talk up to you about the cause of things,
Mhm.
and they don't even think that that's the cause of things. And a lot of people, another great excuse people use, which has recently been debunked, is it's chemical imbalance, Keegan. Like, it's chemical imbalance. And no matter what, it's like, well, from what I've learned, chemical imbalance is a result, not a cause. I can show you some horror movies and bad things that's happening in the world. Your cortisol will skyrocket.
Mm-hmm.
I can show you birds chirping and this, and then you start to mellow down.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this book that talks about mind over medicine and talks about the connection.
Uh-huh.
It's a big deal. Like, you have no idea how much damage. We're just talking about this chemical imbalance. Like, I'm talking about like how much you can change your body in the what do you call it, in the medicine. All the
Mm-hmm.
doctors, or before they become doctors, when they go to school, they have a thing called what was it called? Anyway, because they
Clinicals?
study so many of these like diseases, and they start thinking they have it. I forget what that's called. I lost my name.
Being a hypochondriac.
Yeah, something like that. But they call it specifically for doctors because it's a common thing. That they start to think that way, and they start to see things. There's so many studies like this about how the mindset affects your body. Like, you've known, like, if you think you're sick, you actually get sick.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And I think that's one of the things that have really affected us in the beginning of COVID, because people thought COVID meant death.
Oh yeah.
And so their body reacted that way, right? Now it's like, COVID, I guess I'm not going out for 2 weeks. Nothing. No, nothing. Just can't taste my food. That's it.
Yeah.
No one's scared anymore. What's the difference? What?
Yeah.
What was the big difference? Right? But people, like, there was these studies. It's insane what was in this book. So basically, it was this doctor. I'm sorry if I'm yapping. Just cut me off, dude.
No, keep going. Keep going.
So there's this doctor, right? And her parents were doctors too. And she was just like, there's these people getting sick, and I can't diagnose them. I don't know what it is. So she started doing things differently. She started asking them different questions. How are things at home? How's your relationship? Are you stressed out at work? All these things. And then she started realizing that that's actually what's affecting them, because she couldn't understand what's happening. And all of a sudden, there's this one lady left a relationship, all of a sudden got better. Well, because after those questions, like, oh, I did what you, like, I left that bad relationship. And so now they feel better. And so everyone knows, right? Stress is a killer.
Oh yeah.
I remember reading this thing about stress. There's people that think stress is a fight or flight thing. Like, I'm ready to fight. That's why this cortisol is amping up, right? And some people think it's like so bad for you, right? The ones that think it's bad for you, their blood vessels, I believe, they actually constrict. And
Increase
the ones
blood
that
pressure.
Yeah. And the ones that didn't think it was a big deal, that they're just preparing me for some action. Like, I'm ready to go. It just stayed open.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
And I'm going, shut up. Come on. Something as simple as that, just because of how you feel. And all it is, your perspective on the situation. Same exact situation. I go out in public and talk to a lot of people. That can get really stressful, right? But if your perspective on the whole thing's like, oh, no way, I got to educate so many people today. Like, woo. Like, there's no fear. There's no like, I can't wait for the questions, like, it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference in what you do, right? Like, when you're just here and you're not here to the likes and what am I going to do after this? And how, oh my God, people are going to think I'm a rock star. Like, you're just going like, oh, that was so insightful. Holy crap. That was mind blowing. Like, and all you're thinking about is your audience. Like, oh, I hope they're listening. I hope they're listening.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And that's what I do. Right. I'm just hoping. I don't know if there's one person listening or freaking 1,000. I have no clue. But I know that if someone hears this and I can change their perspective, and I've done it before. So it's like, no way, that helps you. Well, let me tell more people.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been doing,
Yeah, and that's exactly what this podcast is about, is to help people out through spreading their story, sharing what's helped them because it might help other people. But I like your approach to it because you're trying to get it at its root. you're trying to stop everything before it gets to the point where it needs to be talked about at a funeral. And
Right.
that's the thing. I know whenever we'd spoke before, you had even mentioned like, well, when do we talk about suicide prevention after the fact?
Right.
And that just doesn't make sense to me. But with this driven purpose that people create, that you're trying to help them shift their perspective on, so much good could be done in the world, because like you said, that purpose is a verb, and I love that, because it's not sitting there, you're not going like, oh yeah, I'm going to like maybe kind of sort of do this. Like, you give yourself a purpose, and it feels like you put a whole bunch of yourself into that, and it's kind of like you want to see it fulfilled, you want to see it fruition. And I think people get somewhere lost along the way, and then they have people tell them, "No, you're not going to be able to ever do that. You won't be able to do this," and it shifts their perspective again.
Right.
So
And
I see exactly where you're going.
yeah, exactly. And like, look what you just said. Like, people might get lost again and again. Maybe it'll come back to them like, lost. All right, you're lost. Where are you trying to go? And so, like, it's okay. It's not a bad thing to get lost in the real world. That's like saying like, oh, dude, I've never gotten lost ever in my life. Like,
You stay in the 10
really?
blocks.
Right. Not even that. Like, you never hit traffic, never hit a roadblock, nothing like that. No, nothing ever. No flights canceled. No, never. Huh. Interesting.
Wow. Yeah.
So there's always going to be some kind of obstacles. But if you don't know where you're trying to go, or you don't know the purpose of why you're going to go there, you're going to quit right there. You're going to quit. You know, and again, it's like, it's really just changing people's perspectives. The more I can change people's perspectives, it becomes more, it stays with you longer. It's not something you have to like, a method you have to learn, you have to practice every day. Like, there's a lot of things you can do, I get, to make you feel better. But dude, seriously, like, people that say like, oh, yoga, like, dude, that's only remedying the result. You have to remedy the cause, not the result, right? You're gonna have to do a lot of yoga to forget your dad, like, like, a lot of yoga, and then right after yoga, guess where you're at? You're back to your world sucks again. Only during yoga, because hey, at least you're living in a present for 10, 15 minutes. Like, but then after the 15 minutes, what happens? You're back to thinking about the future, right? Because that's what gets you depressed. You know, oh, I'm never gonna be this way. Like, you know, people pass away, right? Your friends, and you haven't hung out with him in 5 years, and you're sad as hell. You're like, you weren't even planning on hanging out with him anytime soon. Why are you so sad? Why are you so sad? And it's because now you don't have a future with him. That's it. All your opportunities are gone to talk to him, to say I love you, to say goodbye, whatever it is. It's because there's no more future of that, and it's shot. And that's what really gets people in trouble. They can't shift their blueprint of their life. When something happens, especially the biggest thing people can obviously relate with, and you know, I can, is our relationships, right? Once you break up, you have this vision already that it was, dude, kids, white picket fence, and probably 2 dogs, you know, like, but that's gone, and you're just like, no, but that's what I want, though. That's what I, and they can't do it. You know, they won't shift. So they get stuck. That's the only way my life was going to be good, though. If I married that girl and I got puppies and got the kid, like, that's the only way my life was going to work. And it's like, that's a bad purpose as a husband, dude. Like, like, as a husband, it was, you love them no matter what, with or without you. Like, that's really what love is, guy, you know? And when again, that's a perspective shift, right? When people can't let go in this, I'm not trying to tell you to let go. Like, what I'm saying is, if you love the girl, it should be with or without you. Is she happy? She was miserable with you. Is that what you want? No, right? Because you love her. Well, you need to freaking find a way to let that happen, right? If you truly, because that's not love, that's possessive, man. You know? So just that shift in perspective helps people let go. Yeah. Right. So these little stories, I'm hoping, is what resonates with people, you know? And again, it's like, it's hard because I'm battling a world telling the opposite. I think you and I kind of talked about this, how some people just have a different philosophy, right? And it goes against what we're saying. because more and more people are finding out these things. More and more people are saying like, I don't really just want to go straight to antidepressants. They're
Mm-hmm.
cautious now. Back then it was like, finally I could be happy. Whoo!
Yeah.
But now they're a lot cautious. Every time I hear something
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I don't really want to depend on them. They're now
Mm-hmm.
kind of saying, I think there's something off here. There's something there's something not right about going straight to that, you know?
Yep. Yep.
Again, it's we're dealing with a whole society that's been conditioned this way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's just little things that we say, like for example, Keegan, do you think money buys happiness?
No, but it gets rid of problems, which gets rid of obstacles, which are obstacles to happiness.
See, my perspective,
Uh-huh.
hell yeah, it buys happiness. The only problem you guys have is that you think happiness is permanent.
Mm,
That's it. You're
yeah.
telling me I don't give you $1 million, you're not going to be happy, huh? Stop. Stop. Anyone listening? Anyone listening? Like, I'm not saying that's what's going to cause everything, but I'm pretty sure you're going to be happier. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
can understand you can't bring someone back and all that stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
it could make you happier.
Yeah.
But
Oh
only
yeah.
because you're
That's
attaching
true.
this meaning, like, no, I feel guilty for wanting the money. Like, that's all you're doing. But in reality, it's because you think what you're trying to compare with is that it's going to be a permanent thing, like
Mm-hmm.
that they're permanently happy. That's the only thing problem with that. So these are things that we teach ourselves, and we don't even really believe it. It's always a cautious thing. Every time
Mm-hmm.
I ask that question, it's like you've never heard this question before. Like, you know exactly what I'm asking. It should be a straight
Mm-hmm.
up no. Like I know exactly, but you kind of go, it's a hard question because you've heard it multiple times, but you still
Mm-hmm.
answer slowly. Why?
Yeah.
Because you're going, and you've had the same answer forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
No one's told you that, right? But
No.
and that's exactly the problems we have. We're being told these things like money doesn't buy happiness, but then they go like, "Oh my God, I can't believe Robin Williams committed suicide. He had money, fame, you just told me money doesn't buy happiness, but you can't understand why he got depressed. I don't get it. That's inconsistent. So we have these inconsistent philosophies running around and it doesn't make any sense. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, no. So you got to learn to kind of question these things and be like, I don't know about that. People
Mm-hmm.
that are depressed all the time, but they're not doing anything about it. It's like saying, like, yo, that I didn't do anything because you ate salad in one day. Are you all right, guy? Like, dude, you're
Mm-hmm.
killing me. Like, it has to be something consistent. So, same thing with
Yeah.
the mental health, physical health.
Mm-hmm.
It once you have once you're happy doesn't mean you're gonna stay there, guy. You know what I'm
Mm-mm.
saying? Same
No.
thing with mental health. Like, dude, I mean, physical health. Like, once you
Mm-hmm.
start eating garbage, I'm telling you, you're gonna gain weight again.
Yep.
Like if you stop going to the gym, yeah, dude. Like it's everyone knows diet,
Mm-hmm.
exercise, and if you
Mm-hmm.
stop those things, we know what happens. It's just that it's so hard to see the mental health, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of know what you need to do. You kind of know what you shouldn't be doing. You know,
Yeah.
not to think about negative things all the time. And we're always being told so many different things, like, oh, we need to help people, Keegan, da da da, this,
Mm-hmm.
that. And then we're being told, change your circle of influence, stay away from these kinds of people, negative. Who do you think those negative people are? The ones that
Mm-hmm.
are healthy or the ones that
Yeah.
need help?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm telling you right now, you know this, drug abusers, alcoholics, they're annoying. They're annoying. And
Yeah.
then you want to get away from them, but those are the ones we actually need to help. But it's
Mm-hmm.
just so hard. But so don't say one thing, but then the other, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Like it just doesn't make sense. So you have to like kind of make sense of things, right? It's not the
Mm-hmm.
alcohol that's the problem. And it's not because suicide is the problem. It's like, dude, they're suicide. We don't need to help them because they're suicidal.
Mm-hmm.
They're suicidal because they need help.
Yeah.
They're alcoholics, not because they need help. Like, so when we
Mm-hmm.
talk about this opioid crisis, this, that, like, well, what's causing that? It's not the
Mm-hmm.
thing itself. You
Yeah.
know, like I get once you keep using it, just like coffee, like I get it, but is that really the cause of things? You know,
Mm-hmm.
like is that what makes you drink coffee every day? Like the coffee? Or
Yeah.
is there something else? Because you think your perspective is, oh dude, I can't start my day without coffee. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you're stuck because that's your if
That's
that's
your
your
narrative.
perspective, well,
Mm.
I don't know what to tell. Well, if you can't start your day, how can I tell you to stop? I
Because
think,
it's technically not even there.
right. So it's like, how do I? So, and that's all
Mm-hmm.
really like everything that we do in life, like with sales and everything. It's just really a
Mm-hmm.
shift in perspective,
Yeah.
right? And obviously, it's the best to listen, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what actually I recommend to people. Like when I went to my wife, talked about all my problems,
Mm-hmm.
they said you just have to listen, and I actually had these bracelets made for my apparel company, and it said two things on there. It said, uh, wait, what is it? Why not? No. Oh, that's what it was. Um, now what? So
Mm.
what you want to do when someone really has problems, you just listen, listen, listen. I even suggest to the point of agreeing
Mm-hmm.
because what they're saying is true.
To
Their
them,
life
yeah.
sucks. With that perspective, it's
Mm-hmm.
not that their life actually sucks, their perspective on life sucks. And that's all they're really telling you.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going like, oh, dude, no way. Oh, dude, Keegan, that does suck. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
man. And then what I'd like people to do, if you're talking to someone like that, it's go,
Mm-hmm.
all right, well, Keegan, now what? Because
Mm.
what that does is it goes, well, solution mindset. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
guess I gotta just chill out for a second. I gotta breathe, or I guess I gotta just relax. I gotta whatever it is you're looking for that solution. When you say now
Mm-hmm.
what,
Yeah.
and then after you talk about that, then you go, all right, well, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Now you make a
all right,
decision.
all right, let's go for it. Keegan, let's relax. We don't have to get wasted tonight. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's chill. Let's freaking, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like let's do it. I mean, no Brokeback Mountain, but let's Netflix and chill. Like, you know what I mean? Let's make it happen. So,
Uh-huh.
but things like that is what gets people in trouble when they have these like kind of concepts that doesn't even
Mm-hmm.
really help them. Another thing is like, oh, Keegan, and there's only something you say when something goes really wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Keegan, everything happens for a reason.
No, no.
Oh, that's the best. Because all
Uh-huh.
they're saying is like, yo, Keegan, when there's a cause, there's an effect.
Mm-hmm.
How did that help you? Like, but what they're doing to you is you're now trying to find the reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And really, they're trying to say is find the reasons to make things happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Because if you're
Yeah.
reasoning in your mind because you're in a bad place, is because you're being punished by God or something. Oh, dude, you just made their life worse.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always something you say only when there's something almost good has happened after something bad.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
everything happens for a reason. You never say like, oh, you lost your kid, well, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
You never say that.
No.
What
No.
oh,
No.
but
No. No.
not,
No.
oh, so you can't say it this time. Only got it. Again, inconsistent philosophies, I don't like
Mm-hmm.
them. I like things that are consistent. But when you
Mm-hmm.
say things like, yeah, all right, well, I guess just try to find the reasons to make things happen.
Mm-hmm.
That is something you can work on. That's something you can actually do to improve your current state of mind, your situation, and whatever. But saying everything happens for a reason is like, that's meaningless. It helps no one. Like, what did that just
Mm-hmm.
do? It's only
Yeah.
it's only great when something good happens. It's like, that's the reason that happened. Oh, you know?
Yeah.
But when your life is still, you're homeless and you go like, well, Keegan, everything happens for a reason. Like, that ain't right.
Nope.
You probably shouldn't say that.
No. No.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely don't want to say that kind of thing to some people, especially in some situations.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but yeah, you do raise really good points on that, and I like how you brought it up too, because that is it's kind of like the empathizer's excuse card of like
Yeah.
actually trying something. to help
Yeah.
is
Hmm.
like everything happens for a reason. It's like maybe kind of acknowledging that I exist and I have a problem, but essentially just kind of dismissing it too. Just like, I see that you're there and struggling, but it's your problem. So,
Hmm.
like, you'll figure it out. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, I wish you just hadn't said anything in the first place.
Yeah. And
Um,
that's something, right? Like all
mm-hmm,
these people, therapists, all that stuff, all they're really doing, no one ever fixes you or helps or changes you.
mm-hmm,
You change you
yeah,
every time. That's
yep,
why in rehab, until you decide you want help, like, well, what they're doing is like basically testing them. Let's see if you can
mm-hmm,
fix me.
yep,
Let's see what you can do. It's like, all right, well, you're not ready.
yep,
Like,
no,
you're definitely not ready because you're not even here for you at all. That's not
yep,
your intention whatsoever. So you're
yep,
testing these things. And I get that it helps,
mm-hmm,
but a lot of times that's why it's temporary because they didn't do it. They were forced not to have a drink or whatever.
mm-hmm,
It's like, but did they really not want to drink? Again, that's where purpose comes in, right?
mm-hmm,
And the perspectives. One of the things, a great way for people to learn too about perspectives. So I was snowboarding J Peak, right? I was in
mm-hmm,
the glades between the trees, if you guys don't know. And the ones in J Peak, they're like, dude, probably like 10 feet apart. So it's sketchy.
uh-huh,
So I'm riding in there with my friends. So a couple of my friends, they're just really good. They were snowboarding out in Oregon and all that stuff.
mm-hmm,
Cruising through this thing. And I'm in there going, 1, 2, 3, tree. And I'm like, oh, I'd almost messed me up. So then I
mm-hmm,
have to get up, and there's a lot of snow in there. So it's like a struggle, like, oh,
mm-hmm,
sweating. I do it again. I get up. I go, 1, 2, 3, tree. Like, holy crap. These guys are just cruising through this thing now. And I'm going.
mm-hmm,
So I tried again. 1, 2, 3, tree. Fell. And then finally, one of my friends, just, after a nice little snow
mm-hmm,
spray, he's like, dude, you all right? I said, how do you guys do this? It's crazy. This is hard.
mm-hmm.
And they go, ready for this? This is advice. Dude, stop looking at the trees. Look at the path between the trees. And he just goes. And I'm going. So it wasn't the 15 years of snowboarding. No,
Uh-huh.
nothing like that. I was
No.
expecting like a great advice. Like, oh, dude, you need to go on your heel. Something. Bro,
It's just,
I'm in there. What's that?
oh, I was going to say it's a simple answer.
Yeah, yeah. So then I get up and I'm like, well, don't look at the trees. Look at the path between the trees. Let's
Uh-huh.
go. LFG. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like, what? I purposely stopped and I went,
Mm-hmm.
what was that? Like, the trees didn't move, dude. The conditions didn't change. I sure as hell
Mhm.
didn't get better in 0.5 seconds. What
Mhm.
was that about? And all I did was change my perspective. Same exact situation,
Mhm.
but I just changed my perspective. Instead of
Yeah.
trying to avoid the trees, I kept hitting. And so that's
Mhm.
how I now visualize people with problems. When you have oh, I have a bad boyfriend, but you keep ending up with the same boyfriend because you're trying
Mhm.
to avoid that one. You keep
Mhm.
getting a damn drink because you're trying to avoid the drink because they're your
Mhm.
trees. You're trying so hard to avoid them that's what you're focusing on.
Mhm.
But if you just look at the path between the trees, the alcohol goes away like
Mhm.
automatic. You don't even see it because it's not part of your purpose.
Mhm.
It's not part of it. You've
Yeah.
already changed your perspective in a situation. It's not the drink.
Yeah.
Not the drink. It's just that I didn't have a path and I keep freaking crashing into these damn obstacles. And that's
Mhm.
what really guys have to understand. That's why purpose perspective, is so important because it just becomes a natural thing.
Mhm.
It's not something that you have to keep practicing. You got to do 15 minutes of yoga or you're not going to be happy, Keegan. Don't forget to get in that ice water. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, no, I've seen
Mhm.
some happy dudes that eat like crap
Mhm.
or not really,
Mhm.
doing all those things. They're happy. And
Yeah.
I'd rather be that
Yeah.
because a lot of times the ones that do that is because they are trying to lower or like control this issue that they have that's
Mhm.
pretty bad. It's going to come out if I don't go in that ice water
Yeah.
or if I don't do yoga or if I don't do exercises on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I think it's because they have something internal that they still haven't um, remedied the cause for,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it's still happening because, one, they're not even taking the time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people that are lost, you know, I hope you pull over.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
don't keep driving, just
Uh-huh.
putting it out there. Pull over and really think about, like, well, how do you get to where you're going and why you're going there? And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't take the time, but like I said, I know it's tough because
Mm-hmm.
it's like someone trying to push you, like, yo, dude, let's go, honk honk, like. So
Yeah.
that's what life is like, right? People are trying to force you. It's very difficult, but once you learn these things, and I'm hoping I'm shifting people's perspective as we speak,
Mm-hmm.
these are things you have to go through. I have this thing, like, people have mentioned game of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd never really had anyone explain it really well or anything, but it just kind
Mm-hmm.
of came about for me. Um, to me, what I ask people, do you play video games or sports, Keegan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Does the level of difficulty increase or decrease when you play?
Increase.
Yeah. Then why do you keep playing
Mm-hmm.
it?
Because it's fun and it gets
Why is
more
it fun?
difficult.
Right.
Because yeah.
Right. What then? Whoa, wait a minute. Because it's difficult. That's why you
Mm-hmm.
want to play it, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But people just have to have that same perspective with their life,
Mm-hmm.
because these things, like even like movies, tell me. I think I asked you this. Tell me a
Mm-hmm.
movie that has no conflict or challenge.
Yeah. It's not a movie.
It's not. It's not a movie. I said it's a documentary.
And even that's not really right.
Right, and that's not even really. But but those are necessary,
Mm-hmm.
right? For it's actually what makes your life interesting. All the
Mm-hmm.
struggles that you've come through. Like, look at anyone's story from just a third person. Look away and, you know, look outside in, and you
Mm-hmm.
look at these people. Like, people can have all these stories, but then they end up being this like happy janitor, and you're going
Mm-hmm.
like, dude, that's so cool.
Yeah.
What a story. You don't care. They didn't have to be a trillionaire at the end of the story,
Yeah.
but they're a happy grandfather with kids that now love him. And that's a better story than an
Mm-hmm.
unhappy mogul. You know, but
Yeah.
someone that freaking killed it at life, had so many struggles, got beat up, this, that, and then came back again, and this and that, and then just kept on going. And now he's 90 with freaking 50 grandchildren. Like, dude, you're awesome. Like, you're awesome. You killed it. You killed it at life. You know,
Right.
that's it. High five, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but when you have that kind of mindset, like I was talking to someone deep about this, and I'm surprised. You know, I just say these things, can't help it. But I mean, they were literally saying something that's really bad. Yeah, they
Mhm.
lost their kids,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said that, and I go, yeah, that, you know, obviously, sorry, I'm not laughing or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but I just wanted him to understand. Well, you know, it's part of the game of life. It's like, you know, we play the things that give us challenges and
Mhm.
you know, these conflicts, and that's what makes the movie interesting. That's what makes the game so attractive,
Mhm.
and that's what we have to do with our lives. Like, we don't watch richer to richer movies, right?
Yeah.
It's always
Mhm.
rags to riches, right?
Yeah.
um, because that's what's inspiring. That's what's really makes the life meaningful. You know, people always say, like, what's the meaning of life? Like, nah, dude, it's what makes life meaningful. That's it. Just
Mhm.
focus on that. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's really what people need to do, is just keep shifting your perspective. It's something that you're going to forget. It's something that we all go through. But please, guys, it's normal. It's
Yep.
freaking normal. Oh
It is.
no, I need more pills because I got depressed again.
Nope.
Well,
don't
what
do
were you
that.
thinking about? Of course you're depressed again. Like, are you?
Mhm.
What do you mean? You know, so it's like, dude, it's a natural response. And I understand
Mhm.
there's some that are not, but when you put an umbrella over everyone, it's because of everyone has that. It's like a chemical imbalance that you can't control or whatever. Like, there's probably a small percentage,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
But in any case, what's the worst case scenario? Do I harm or benefit or help more people by telling them they can do something about it? You know,
Yeah.
does it
You
harm more people when you say that you can't? Hell yeah, because there's people that could have, but you told them they
Mhm.
can't, and now
Yeah.
they're done.
Yep.
So I'd rather tell the ones that maybe they totally need it. And again, people that are listening, I'm not saying don't take antidepressants, man. Same
Mhm.
thing for you diabetics. I'm not saying don't take insulin. What I am saying is if you're diabetic and you're taking insulin, cut down the sugar. Like,
Hmm.
cut it down. Like, stop it. And then if you're taking antidepressants, well, stop blaming daddy. Stop thinking about it and this. You're only hurting you. It's not hurting him.
Hmm.
It's all you. So that's all I'm saying. So I want to make sure that that gets out there.
Alrighty. Well, it is definitely out there. And perfect timing because we are at the end of the episode. So, do you have any shout outs that you'd like to do real quick? And also, I do like to get people on more than once because I like to catch up with them in a few months or so, see how life's doing, see how their perspective may have changed, and so on. So, could we expect to see you on to follow up with purpose perspective?
Oh, definitely,
Sweet.
definitely. The more times we could do this, the better.
Yes, sir.
We got
So any
the
shout
metaverse to
outs?
talk about too.
Oh, yes, we do. We have some conversations. So
Yeah.
I really hope you're back on.
I got
But
you.
your shout outs, go for them because I
Yeah,
know those two that are in the description on the episode. But
sure.
go for it.
Yeah. So anyone that wants to help us with our mission with Start Day One of just helping people get situated. Basically, what we do with that is helping people help people like Keegan, speakers, guest speakers to talk to more people, fundraising for that. So you can go to startday1.org. All our Instagram, all the handles are startday1.org. So yeah, come and check us out and help
Sweet.
us out.
All right. Well, I will send the message as far and as wide as possible as the internet can take it, which is pretty far. And we'll see you back on. We'll talk about the metaverse. We'll also continue talking about the different perspectives of perspective and purpose,
Yeah.
because there's just so much in there.
Yeah.
And like, curse you radio time slots.
But sometimes though, the attention span, an
Hmm.
hour is good. Like,
Yeah.
just come back that next hour because then they
Yes,
can't
sir.
retain all this info.
Yep. But again, thank you very much, Ricardo. And I will speak to you next time. And for the audience out there, I hope y'all all got a little good something something out of that because there's a whole lot of good something somethings. So thank y'all for listening, and we will see y'all next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Shalom. All right.